Jacksonville Jinx? I don't think so. Bills bucking the trend of struggling against the Jacksonville Jaguars to improve to 3-0. I'm Kevin Carroll. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone Podcast. 47-10, the final on Monday Night Football.
And I'm Andy Young at Highmark Stadium. Utter domination from the Buffalo Bills to improve to 3-0 on the season. It was the kind of game where the players were singing along with the crowd between the third and fourth quarters to Mr. Brightside. Just one of those nights where everything was going right for the Buffalo Bills.
You sound like you've been cheering out in the crowd, Andy, with your voice, so we'll keep this short and sweet, but a lot to get to in this one. And we'll start with, of course, Josh Allen, Andy, called overrated during the offseason. That was a lot of talk. I spent many a mornings addressing who or what or why Allen was being called overrated. And when all is said and done after 3 weeks of the season, Andy, and you can talk about Las Vegas all you want, but your eye test also tells you that Josh Allen, a legit contender 3 weeks in for the league MVP with what he's been able to put together. And again, this is just 3 games in, but when you look around the league, what everyone else has been doing, kind of mired in mediocrity, Allen just winning and doing whatever it takes. And tonight's game looked almost flawless.
He was in complete control. It was one of those games where at halftime, Josh Allen's odds, you mentioned Las Vegas, according to the sports books, his odds to win MVP leapfrogged Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen was so good in the first half with 4 touchdown passes, 200-plus yards through the air, 300 total yards for the game. I mean, it was just a complete, incredible performance from Josh Allen from start to finish. He had it going on and really didn't have to do much in the second half because they did so much. He gets the ball to 10 different receivers, bunch of guys score touchdowns. Just really an all-around performance. And like you said, for those who thought Josh Allen was overrated, just throw on the tape. Just watch the first 3 games and see what he's been able to do.
Yeah, and Andy, we got to talk about this O-line for the Bills who kept Josh Allen clean the entire time. And yeah, we can say Jacksonville struggled to get a pass rush going in their plan to use man coverage against Josh Allen really didn't go over that well. But I want to give kudos to the big guys up front, Andy. That offensive line did a great job in giving Josh Allen time and plenty of time to find open receivers down the field.
Yeah, those big guys up front have done a tremendous job this season. It's now back-to-back games where Josh Allen has been kept clean, no sacks, no turnovers because he's not running for his life like he has it sometimes in the past. And they're just doing a fantastic job overall, running the football when they need to. You look at the Miami game, they're running up and down the field. Big gains in this game, too, for Cook and Ray Davis. So, I mean, this is just a complete team right now. And that offensive line is really controlling things up front. That's a big key for this offense to be able to keep other teams on their toes.
And you got to love what Joe Brady is doing with the pre-snap movement. It seems like as each game goes by, we're seeing a little more and a little more. And, of course, you know, these offenses do it to recognize what kind of coverage is out there. And if Josh Allen, if the hand is tipped on what he needs to do, you know that the Bills are going to eat, and we'll get to everybody eating in just a bit. But I like what Joe Brady is doing now with more pre-snap motion, and it's really helping Josh Allen in this offense out big time.
Yeah, and Jacksonville's a team that plays the most man-to-man coverage in the entire NFL, and the Bills just ate that alive. A lot of pre-snap motion, like you said, that gives the indicator as to if they're in man coverage or zone coverage, because if they're in man coverage, the players run with the person that's in motion. If they're in zone, they kind of stay put and shift over. So they were able to see before the snap indications of man coverage, and then Joe Brady drawing up plays and Josh Allen finding the right answers every single time. And they absolutely own the Jaguars from start to finish. And, you know, if this team, that was one of the questions some people had about it going into the season with the receiver crew is, would they have answers against man coverage? Well, if tonight was any indication, they certainly did.
Yeah, I mean, even young Keon Coleman, he can't get separation. He's got to use his big body to go catch balls. He had the one reception, but it was for a touchdown, 24 yards, Andy, and he got separation there, and he got separation during Khail Shakir's touchdown catch later on in the half. Shakir continues to just amaze. 6 receptions, 72 yards, and that one touchdown. But, Andy, once again, you see Khail Shakir bouncing off bodies to get into the end zone.
Yeah, we talked about this before the season began, throughout the spring, really, and even into training camp. I wondered, why can't Khail Shakir be their number one receiver? No, he's not your prototypical A.J. Brown or Jamar Chase or one of these guys, Marvin Harrison Jr., that's drafted in the early stages. But you got to remember, Stephon Diggs was a late-round pick, and he became a number one receiver. Shakir's a different type of player, and he just has just such incredible hands. Everything that comes his way, he catches, and the contact balance. Seems like he never goes down on the first hit, always makes more yardage, and it's just really incredible what he's able to do, and he absolutely has become Josh Allen's number one target.
And as Josh Allen and Coach McDermott and everyone in that team says, he's a football player. His numbers are not going to wow you, but he'll wow you with his play on the field and his drive to get into the end zone, Andy. And that brings me to Dalton Kincaid, too, because we're seeing more from Dalton Kincaid as each game has gone by. Not so much in the first game, a little more against the Dolphins. Now we see him with that big touchdown and an adjustment that when you see Josh Allen go off to his right, I mean, Dawson Knox, very familiar with it. Just get yourself open. Allen's going to send the ball your way, and just running along the back of the end zone, Allen fires a bullet to him that he catches, and now you feel Dalton Kincaid's more in the mix. Khail Shakir is more in the mix. Keon Coleman has a touchdown. Mac Holland has catches. Marcus Valdez-Scantling with catches. Dawson Knox with a catch, Andy. I'm looking at the list here, just everybody involved, and that's where we go with the everybody eats mentality that I've just listened to Keon Coleman's postgame, and he brought it up a few times, as everyone did, that it's just so balanced looking down the line. It's what they told us. They told us they were going to do it. Curtis Samuel, 3 catches today.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody's popping off where they're having 150 yards and 2 touchdowns or anything like that. It's just really spreading the ball around, finding guys who are open on each individual play. And, yeah, like a Shakir, his numbers piled up a little bit more than some other guys. But the fact that they're able to keep teams so off balance because they never know who exactly is going to get the ball, it's been really a revelation for this. We all wondered what they would do without a bona fide number one wide receiver. Well, turns out you don't have to feed the ball to one guy all the time, and Josh Allen can be the point guard and just distribute left, distribute right, find guys down the field, find guys in the flat, over the middle. It's just been really an incredible performance so far by both Josh Allen and Joe Brady in the way he schemed this thing.
James Cook finds the end zone first, Andy, on the ground. Under 50 yards rushing. Josh Allen actually leading in rushing with 44 yards. Cook 11 carries, Allen 6. But I think when you hear from the team, that was the MO going into this game, where as against the Dolphins a week ago, you were going to lean on the ground game a little bit more. It looks like with how the Jaguars has set up their plan of attack, the Bills knew that they were going to be passing the ball more in this one.
Yeah, that was the strength of the Jacksonville defense, was run stopping through the first couple of weeks of the season. They'd done a pretty nice job there. So the Bills knew it was going to be tough sledding to just plow through the Jacksonville defensive front. So instead, they pick on the Jacksonville secondary, and they do things to scheme guys open. You saw right away James Cook in the flat. You saw different guys, Dalton Kincaid down the sideline. You saw Khail Shakir obviously get involved, and that's the mantra of this offense for the Buffalo Bills, is that they can win in so many different ways, right? Like game 1, we saw Josh Allen go into hero ball mode and running the ball and doing all these different things. Game 2, it was the James Cook show. And then game 3, it's a little bit of everything. Yeah, they didn't have to run the ball a ton. Josh kind of scrambled for some first downs, but didn't really have to do a whole lot in the designed run game. And he slid down too, which was nice to see for Sean McDermott, I'm sure. But yeah, just really incredible the way that this Bills team is able to pick an opponent's weakness and really go after it.
And it was incredible. You bring up Josh Allen right there, and that's one of the problems with doing a lot of man coverage is if you're facing a quarterback like Josh Allen and everyone has their backs to him, he's good to go. You know, we saw a design draw, but we also saw Allen take off when he saw that he was going to at least get the first down because no one had their eyes on him.
Yeah, that's the poison you have with Josh Allen. He can pick you apart through the air and man coverage, and if you're turning your back and running with a receiver, you saw many times where it's just nobody within 15 yards of Josh Allen, and he's able to scramble for a first down and get out of bounds or slide down before anybody touches him, and wasn't in harm's way at all. Nobody really got a piece of him at all in this game from the Jacksonville defenders' side. So just another point that Josh Allen is at another level right now, and to me, there's a reason he's the front runner for MVP.
A lot of firsts in this. Keon Coleman, first touchdown catch in the NFL, 3 games into his career. I know when we did our preseason show, you had high hopes that Coleman would get a bunch of touchdowns this year. I think he had it around 10, but Sean McDermott, and it was noticeable at the beginning of the game that Keon Coleman wasn't out there, and head coach Sean McDermott, after saying that he did indeed sit the rookie for the first quarter, looks like the rookie was not on time, as Sean McDermott put it, would not say what he was not on time for, and that's fine. We understand that, but a teachable moment for the rookie wide receiver that even if you're one of the top picks on the team, you got to abide by the rules like everybody else.
Yeah, and I mean, this happens with NFL teams. You hear of guys, and oftentimes you don't hear about it, that, a guy was late, he didn't show up to pregame on time, or he didn't show up to practice on time, and didn't show up to meetings on time, and you got to deal with that, right? There's a standard that Sean McDermott has set, and he's not the only coach in the NFL that's done this. And he said he was happy with the way that Coleman handled it as a rookie and understood exactly that he needed to be accountable to his teammates, accountable to this organization. So he sits out the first quarter, and then, he comes on and he gets his first NFL touchdown. Pretty fitting, right?
First NFL touchdown, and then by that time, he doesn't need to be out on the field anymore, Andy, because we're coming up on the second half. The game's already a rout. We weren't expecting to see the first teamers out there that much in the second half once things got settled down. So interesting the way it played out. Draft pick Ray Davis also found the end zone for the first time.
Yeah, a lot of great performances, a lot of first efforts in this one. I know you're going to bring this up, but I'll bring it up now. Joe Andreessen, the Western New York product, playing in his first NFL game for the Buffalo Bills, the hometown team he rooted for. You mentioned Ray Davis. Keon Coleman get their first. Damar Hamlin gets his first career interception, and what a story that is, considering all that Damar Hamlin has been through, to come back and be a starter for this team and get a pick on a Trevor Lawrence overthrow. I mean, this team is getting so many contributions from so many different guys, and I think there's going to be more of this to come.
And I sit there and I think about Damar Hamlin in that play, Andy. It did lead to another touchdown that led to the Khail Shakir touchdown, but such an amazing thing to get to see, for it to be on Monday Night Football, for it to be in front of the home crowd. Damar's first interception gets a little bit of a return with it as well, but so cool to see with all that Damar has been through. I almost want to say, with Josh Allen's 4 touchdown passes and all that offense was allowed to do, maybe the coolest, biggest moment of the game was Damar getting his first interception, with everything else surrounding it and all that means in this game.
Yeah, so cool to see. And then the crowd at Highmark Stadium completely into this game because it was just such fun for them the entire way. And then Damar gets that pick, and they just give him the standing ovation when he comes to the Bills bench. for all that guy has been through and for all that he represents for this team and this organization and what he's done for himself, the true perseverance of a guy who died on the football field, was resuscitated, and comes back to play football and gets an interception a year and a half later, his first of his career. Just a special, special moment.
Yeah, I don't think it would be saying it's overrating what happened there to say that that is a major highlight. And you and I talked during the post-game show about him maybe deserving comeback player of the year last year when Joe Flacco got it. I mean, if things keep trending the way they are with Damar, this is the comeback right now where he's becomes the starter at safety, has an interception, played a great game against the Dolphins a week ago as well. That this comeback that he's on right now this year is pretty incredible.
Yeah, remarkable stuff. I mean, I don't know who really thought that Joe Flacco should have been the comeback player of the year. The fact that Damar Hamlin was even on a football field, was even alive last season, was a comeback in itself. So, if he can get it the second time this year, right. Second chance, right? Like, more power to the guy. Really good stuff. And the mission he's been on, just you can't say enough about the young man.
It won't matter, Andy, at the end of the day because of how this game went. But Von Miller, 3 games into the season, 3 sacks so far on the season. The one in the game against the Jaguars coming pretty late. The game already locked up. But still, if you kept an eye on Von Miller, you could see his motor kept going. As long as he was out there on the field, he was going as hard as he could.
Yeah, and he pressured Trevor Lawrence a few other times, too, that I noticed, where Lawrence was either able to escape or, he got rid of the ball just beforehand. I mean, for Von Miller to be at this point, he'd be another candidate for comeback player of the year, right? After all he's been through with his torn ACL, and then last season he comes back after 4 games, and he's just not the same guy. And people are wondering, is Von Miller washed? And if you noticed him throughout the last couple of weeks, if you follow him on Instagram or social media, he'd been saying, you guys have me messed up. You gave me all the motivation I needed, saying that my career is over and I'm cooked and I'm not the player I was before. Is he Von Miller from 6-8 years ago? Defensive player of the year, Von Miller? No, probably not. But he is definitely a contributor to this Bills team in that situational pass rush role. And 3 sacks through 3 games, 1 in each game. I mean, you don't have to do the math there. That's going to be a great pace for the Bills if he can keep that up. I mean, if he gets to double-digit sacks, that's just a bonus for this Bills defense, and especially with what they're paying him, for him to be able to show up the way he has and look so much better than he did last season when you never really saw him gain any traction until just the very end of the season, where he got a few nice rushes against the Chiefs and a couple of games before that. But to see him doing what he's doing, that's a great sign for the Bills defense.
Totally nice to see, and we'll stay on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned Joe Andreessen, Andy. This story just gets cooler and cooler. Going into this game, the Buffalo native, he might dress for the first time in an NFL game. This kid, local kid, played football at UB as well. Got a tryout with the Bills in the spring. No one thought he'd stick around. He stuck around, made it through training camp, makes the 53-man roster. Now, due to injury, called up on game day and actually playing on special teams. And then at the end of the game, I think what a lot of people were hoping for with the way this game pans out in front of the home crowd, again, just another cool storyline. He gets out there and gets to play some linebacker. And I think from the one thing I did see as I was getting ready to do the post-game show, had a pretty nice, was in on a stop on Travis Etienne or someone at one point, just getting into the mix, looked like he belongs.
Yeah, absolutely. Got some snaps on kickoff coverage, punt coverage, and also gets a few snaps on defense with the game out of hand. And he told us after the game when he was coming out of the tunnel and the fireworks and the flames are going off, the Buffaloes are smoking on the field, like he got chills. He was a little nervous for that. I mean, think about what that's like for a kid that grew up in the stands here, played at Lancaster High School, played on this field in Section 6 championship games for Lancaster, played for the University of Buffalo Bulls in his final collegiate season, rooted for the Bills his whole life, and then to be able to have the kind of story he's had and get out on the field and make it happen under the lights, prime time Monday Night Football. I mean, what more can you ask for a kid? And he's so proud and he's so humble, and his family is so excited for him. I've gotten to talk to them a little bit too over the last few months. Just a really, really special thing for a Western New York kid to be able to do this for his hometown team.
Such a cool story, Andy. Let's overreact a little bit, shall we? I think the Bills are a legit contender with only 3 games into the season because of how the Bills' schedule played out, Andy. The last couple of weeks, if you wanted to, which I did, you got to watch a lot of NFL football, be it on the red zone or just checking it out because the Bills haven't played on the last couple of Sundays. To me, as far as teams go, the Bills are the most impressive team I've seen so far. I think the Chiefs have gotten way too lucky a few times. I don't know how the Steelers are 3-0, Andy. That's a topic for another day, but that still starts driving you wild. But as far as impressive teams go across the league, the Bills are up top. I still want to see how they do against the Ravens coming up on Sunday Night Football. But to me, it looks like this team, this offense, and this defense are legit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they've proven that they are certainly still in their Super Bowl window with Josh Allen at the helm, with Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, and all that consistency. Maybe it doesn't matter so much what's around those guys as long as they're putting themselves in the right positions. They're bringing in the right guys to be the counterparts, to be the guys who ride with Josh Allen. And you're right. To me, they've been the most impressive team in the league so far. You looked at the Saints, you look at the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be there at the end of the season, no doubt about it. And that's going to be, possibly another setup for the Bills and the Chiefs again. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but why not? We can do that right now. We're not players. We can talk about what's to come.
Right.
Yeah. So to me, they certainly are Super Bowl contenders. And to me, they should be right at the top with the Chiefs as, really the most impressive team in the league.
What do you think the scuttlebutt will be leading up to Sunday Night Football next week? That, it's been for so long Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, maybe Josh Allen behind them, Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They don't look that great so far this season. But maybe now Josh Allen starts to get a little more respect heading into these games. I think the love affair with the Bills and Josh Allen kind of died down last season, maybe even the season before it. But this gives you vibes of early in the 2020s when John Brown was here, when Cole Beasley was here, when Diggs first arrived, when Dawson Knox first showed up and him and Josh Allen developed this connection. That it just seems more of a team type of offense and defense right now than maybe it had the last couple of years.
Yeah, when I talked to Khail Shakir before the season in a piece that aired on our Buffalo End Zone season kickoff special, he said that the vibes were just different. And whether that's the departure of Diggs or what have you, the guys they brought in, maybe a little change in leadership in the organization among the locker room. I mean, they lost 6 of 8 captains, some different voices out there. I mean, this is just a team that's got it rolling right now. And, all it takes is one injury or a bad streak to have things go wrong. But for all intents and purposes right now, to me, they're playing the best football in the NFL, and it's really not close.
All right. They have the they're at the at the Ravens, at the Texans, at the Jets.
There's the stretch we've been talking about, man.
Yeah. And you and I had talked about being in good position when you hit that stretch, and they couldn't be in any better position than sitting at 3-0 with their first test coming up in prime time next Sunday, 8:20 Sunday Night Football. Andy, I love the 7:30 start time. I know we talked about it leading up to it. Got to do it. Push these night games up to 7:30. It's a lot easier on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I like the earlier night games. Lets the kids watch the games. I mean, we've talked about this back when we were younger. Monday Night Football started at 9 o'clock.
Right.
So yeah, these 7:30 games are great. They're going to have their hands full next weekend on Sunday Night Football with the Ravens. I mean, Lamar is always a handful, and then they have Derrick Henry when he's rolling. I mean, we got to see the Bills stop the run with the beat up linebacker core. I mean, it's going to be a true test for this team to go to Baltimore and get a win in prime time, but I think they're certainly capable.
Yeah, big game coming up, and Andy and I will have more on that coming up on Wednesday when we join you again. Buffalo Bills 47-10 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jinx with Jacksonville is now gone. Once again, Andy and I will catch up with you on Wednesday to get you ready for the game against the Baltimore Ravens. As always, everyone, thanks for joining us.